You want to learn how to make a fire in a snowstorm? Stick around. What is up, self-made Homestead family? We're back again today in the middle of a bomb cyclone to create a pocket rocket. This is the pellet pocket rocket, the production model. Now, in a previous video, I built the prototype, the proof of concept, if you will, that made me know that this will work. So in today's video, I'm gonna go ahead and build the full-on production model that you'll be able to purchase at our Etsy store. You always wanna start with a prototype so that you can work out all the kinks. So this is 3/16 wall, 3.5 inch square tube with a 3-inch ID or interior diameter. This from wall to wall on the inside is 3 inches. From here to here on the outside is 3.5. That'll become handy here shortly when we do some math about trays and things like that. So moving on, I wanted to show you that from now on, I'll be giving you production shots as I build, cut, and weld. And then from behind the welder's perspective, like from this angle, I'll show you how everything comes together. So that was a piece of 10 3/4 drop. That's a piece of 18-inch, 3.5 inch square tube. And that is a 15.5 inch section that we've mitered to sit here, okay? Now, I've mirrored that miter or inverted it here so that I can know where the feed is going to happen. And that will become handy here shortly after we take this out. So here comes the montage of the layout prior to assembly. Okay, so I've got the top of the body notched out and I'm really excited with how it's coming together. So before, I used my speed square, shout out my cousin Jason, to lay out the geometry here by inverting 45-degree angles. I use that as the stop for the cut. This is where the smokestack goes, and this is where the pellet hopper will go. But using those cuts, I've created the tray. So I'll use 1.5 flat strap on the back of this to make a tray that will be able to come in and out of the back of the stove and have a baffle on it so that the smoke can't come out that way, but I'll be able to light it from there as well. So using either this end or this end, I'll be able to light the stove after I weld this together. This is gonna match this geometry here. So the pellet hopper will land right here, it'll feed into that, and then it'll flatten out so that it'll burn, and as gravity makes it go, it'll burn from the pellet hopper will load it, it'll burn out and drop to the bottom. So I'm gonna have a tray that'll catch this here in a second. So the next piece is assembling that tray. And we'll use the geometry from the bottom of this miter to the end of the body of the stove for the angle iron that's gonna sit on it. I'm using 1.5 inch angle, right? To make this tray sit in there so you can quickly slide it out and so that air can be added. It'll mix there and combustion will happen up here. All right, here we go. Okay, so what I'm doing now is starting to make the feed tray a reality, okay? So let me just get at it square so you can see what I've done. That's 1.5 inch angle that I've cut to the length that I want this burn tray to be. Now, using those pieces of drop that I had segmented from this section being cut out, I created the feed angle. Now, by putting these pieces of angle here, two things happen. One, I allow a tray for easy in and out access right here, and I allow airflow for the thing to be ignited down here. So I'm almost ready to start welding, but before I do, I gotta lay out a couple of pieces of flat strap that will become the side walls of the tray. Once I tack everything together, I can cut the air holes in it so that air will breathe, that also will allow for the ash to fall through to the bottom here. So this will serve as a clean out, and I'll be able to use flat strap on a tray to make that tray happen, okay? So that will come out and it'll allow me to light the stove from the bottom here. Also, it will serve as a brace here at the angle iron. So as I cut these pieces, we'll make it happen. But this is 1.5 inches with I think it's a 1-inch ID here. It's actually 1.25 inches, but because you got the radius here. So I'll use some smaller stock to make a tray here, and we'll check back in. But it's coming together nicely. All right, so I've cut the angle iron to size, and I also notched a 1/2 inch off of one of the legs. It'll still give me plenty to slide this thing in and out on. And more importantly, it'll give me space that I can allow for fire to come up and ash to come down as it burns the primary burn tray. So these will sit on a spacer in here so that I can have a tray come in and out of the very bottom, which is where I'll collect the ash from. And I'll have an air gap here so I can get air from the top of the body down there into the primary burn tray on a 45, and the ash will fall down here into an ash catch we're gonna fab. But it's starting to come together. All right, ready for the tack up, gang. So here's what's happening. I got a piece of that 3/16 wall on the bottom. Then I got the 1.5 inch, which is 0.65 wall. Then I got another 3/16 sleeve on the top. I'm gonna tack these tray liners in, just like that right there. And then I'm gonna tack that feed tube in. What that does, if you look closely, is give me air chambers on either side. So once the basket is built, the pellets will come in, and then the air will come in through here. That'll be our damper. I'll put a hinged lid on that side. Then the 45 for the pellet hopper will be here. And then the 10 3/4 section for the chimney stack and burn area will be right here. So let's get it. Okay, the chute has been tacked in and ground flat. If I cut it, the liners for the tray are there. The tray has been fabbed. That. Next up, the hardware cloth for the insert for the pellet hopper, and then installing the pellet feed as well as the chimney stack / cook surface. It's coming along. All right, so the hardware cloth is cut to size, and I've also used my step bit to drill a hole so that I can stick the torch in right here and light the fire straight through there. Now, let's fit the body up. All right, Mike's makers, I got my mask on, so forgive the muffle, but here's the deal. You want to notch that top out. See how I've got the smokestack notched out? A couple of things. When you put this on, it's going to be welded here, okay, like this. But notice I've got a baffle inside that because the pellets are going to fill in. This baffle is going to allow the pellets to get caught right here and then feed in through here, so it's going to slow down the burn, which is awesome because it's going to land in the burn tray. So with this closed, you'll be able to light it right here and then burn it through the smokestack, okay? On this side, we're going to put in a couple of pieces of flat strap to make it nice and clean when we're done, but I wanted to show you this first. Remember to notch this out and create a corresponding baffle so that A, you got smoke mix, and B, you got nice, slow feeding pellets. Get more efficiency out of your fuel. Now, we're gonna put her together. Right, so here we are. Put the legs on. I used some of that 2-inch square tube that I got for $7. Then, I welded the pellet hopper to the smokestack. And now, let me show you what we got. So, once again, the torch head fits there. Pull that out, that's your ashtray. In there, that's 1/4 inch hardware cloth, so the pellets will land in there, right? And then as the ash falls, it'll fall into this void here, which will also provide flow. And the ash will get caught here and removed. The pellets will stay up there and get caught. Let's go set it on fire. Pretty stoked. I'm gonna test fire it, and then we're gonna make it pretty. But there she is. Quick walk around. The production model of the pellet pocket rocket. There she is, ladies and gents. That concludes part 1. I went ahead and cut in a grate so that you can add a pan, and I mitered the load tube. that concludes part 1. Stay tuned for part 2, where I teach you how to make a pellet hopper. But look at that, nice clean fire coming out of the pocket rocket. This one's going to be a true dual fuel, so stay tuned for part 2. If you like what you saw, be sure to mash that subscribe button and consider joining our Patreon movement. The link's in the description below. That way you and friends can learn how to make these projects and stay ready, so that you too can have a nice off-grid heat source and cooking source in the snow. This is my backyard. And then there's the stove for some scenery. Until next time, I'm Mike May, and this is the Self-Made Homestead. Peace.